I can still remember the sharp sting of his hands shoving me to the floor, the cold, indifferent look in his eyes as he threw me out, like I was nothing more than garbage. This is what my 61st birthday had come to. My own son treating me as if I didn't matter, as if I hadn't spent my entire life raising him, loving him, and sacrificing everything for him. And now, because of that wretched wife of his, he can't even look at me. Laura, just the sound of her name makes my blood boil. From the moment Henry brought her home, I knew she was trouble. The way she looked at me, as if I was an obstacle in her path. The way she whispered in Henry's ear, slowly turning him against me. I warned him not to marry her. I begged him to see through her manipulations. But he was blinded by lust, by the idea that she loved him unconditionally. What a joke. The only thing that woman loves is herself. And now, because of her, I've lost everything. My son, my grandchildren, my family. The family I dedicated my life to is gone, cast aside like yesterday's trash. As I sit on the curb, wallowing in despair, a car pulls up beside me. The window rolls down, revealing the concerned face of my best friend Nicole. "Megan, what happened? What are you doing out here?" she asks, her voice filled with worry. I can barely get the words out. "Henry, he kicked me out, said I was crazy, and it's his house now." Nicole's eyes widen in shock before narrowing in anger. "He did what? On your birthday? Oh, honey, get in the car. You're coming home with me." I climb into the passenger seat, numb. As Nicole drives, she keeps glancing over at me, her brow furrowed. "This is unacceptable, Megan. Henry can't treat you like this. Something has to be done." I shake my head sadly. "What can I do, Mags? He's a grown man. He's made his choice." Nicole purses her lips, a determined glint in her eye. "Maybe so, but that doesn't mean he gets away with it. You're his mother, for God's sake. It's time Henry and that witch of a wife learned that there are consequences for their actions." I turn to her, confused. "What are you saying?" A slow smile spreads across Nicole's face. "I'm saying, my dear, it's time for a little revenge, and I know just the person to help us." As we speed into the night, I feel a flicker of something I haven't felt in a long time. Hope. Maybe, just maybe, I can make Henry and Laura pay for the pain they've caused. Maybe karma will finally catch up with them. The day had started off well enough. It was my birthday, and despite everything that had happened with Henry, I was determined to make the most of it. I spent the morning tidying up the house, putting up a few decorations, and preparing a special dinner. I even bought a cake from the bakery down the street, the same one Henry had always loved as a kid. Around noon, I called Henry, my heart pounding with a mix of hope and nerves. To my surprise, he actually answered. "Hey, Mom, what's up?" His tone was neutral, guarded. I took a deep breath. "Well, I was wondering if you, Laura, and the kids would like to come over for dinner tonight. It's my birthday, and I thought it would be nice to spend some time together as a family." There was a long pause. I could hear muffled voices in the background as if he was discussing it with someone. Finally, he spoke. "Yeah, okay, we can do that. What time?" Relief washed over me. "How about 5 p.m.? I'm making your favorite, lasagna." "Sure, see you then," he said, hanging up before I could say anything else. The rest of the day passed in a blur of preparation and anticipation. By the time 5 p.m. rolled around, everything was perfect. The lasagna was bubbling in the oven, the table was set, and the cake was proudly displayed on the counter. Right on time, the doorbell rang. I practically ran to answer it, a huge smile on my face. But the moment I opened the door, my heart sank. Henry stood there with a scowl etched on his face. Beside him was Laura, her lips curled into a sneer. The kids were nowhere to be seen. "Where are the children?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Laura let out a harsh laugh. "We decided it was best they didn't come. Wouldn't want them exposed to any more of your toxic influence." I felt like I had been slapped. Toxic influence? What are you talking about? She stepped forward, jabbing a finger at me. "Don't play dumb, Megan. We all know what a terrible mother you were. The way you turned Henry against his own father, the constant guilt-tripping and manipulation. It's no wonder he wants nothing to do with you." Tears stung my eyes. I looked to Henry, silently pleading for him to defend me, but he just stood there, arms crossed, saying nothing. That's not true, I managed to choke out. I've always loved and supported Henry. I would never do anything to hurt him. Laura's eyes flashed with anger. Spare us the martyr act. You're just a selfish, vindictive woman who can't stand that Henry has moved on with his life. That he chose me over you. Something inside me snapped. Before I knew what I was doing, I lunged forward, ready to slap that smug look off her face. But Henry stepped between us, grabbing my wrist in a painful grip. Don't you dare touch my wife, he growled. You're pathetic, you know that? Coming up with this whole birthday charade, trying to worm your way back in. Well, it's not going to work. We're done with you. With that, he shoved me backward, sending me stumbling. I caught myself on the door frame, tears now flowing freely down my cheeks. Henry, please, I whispered. I'm your mother. But he just shook his head, his eyes cold. Not anymore. Come on, Laura, let's go. I watched helplessly as they turned and walked away, slamming the door behind them. The sound echoed through the empty house, a brutal finality to it. And there I stood, alone on my birthday, my heart shattered into a million pieces. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen in the aftermath of Henry and Laura's cruelty. Minutes, hours, it all blurred together. The pain in my chest was unlike anything I had ever felt before. A deep, aching void threatened to swallow me whole. Eventually, I managed to close the door, my hands shaking. I stumbled to the couch, collapsing onto the cushions as sobs racked my body. How could he do this to me? My own son, treating me like I was nothing, like I hadn't spent my entire life loving and caring for him. The sound of my phone ringing jolted me out of my despair. I glanced at the screen, seeing Nicole's name. For a moment, I considered ignoring it, not wanting to burden her with my problems, but the thought of facing this alone was too much to bear. I answered, my voice thick with tears. Hello? Megan, what's wrong? Did something happen with Henry? The concern in her voice was my undoing. I broke down, the whole sordid story spilling out between gasps and sobs. Nicole listened patiently, offering words of comfort and support. That's it, she said firmly when I finished. This has gone too far. Henry and Laura can't keep treating you like this. It's time for them to face some consequences. I sniffled, wiping my eyes. What do you mean? I mean, it's time for a little payback. They think they can just walk all over you, but they've got another thing coming. You're a strong woman, Megan. It's time to start acting like it. Her words ignited a spark within me, a flicker of anger amidst the pain. She was right. I couldn't just sit here and wallow. I needed to do something, to take back control. Okay, I said, my voice steadier now. What do you have in mind? I could practically hear Nicole's grin through the phone. Meet me at the diner in an hour. I've got someone I want you to meet. Trust me, he's going to be a big help. An hour later, I was sitting across from Nicole in a booth at the local diner. She had a mischievous glint in her eye as she sipped her coffee. So, who is this mystery person? I asked, curiosity getting the better of me. As if on cue, the bell above the door jingled, and Nicole waved at someone behind me. There he is now. I turned, my eyes widening as a tall, broad-shouldered man approached our table. He had a rugged look about him, like someone who had seen his fair share of trouble. Megan, meet my brother Jack, Nicole said, gesturing for him to sit. He's a private investigator. Jack nodded at me, his gaze assessing. Nicole filled me in on your situation. I'm sorry to hear about what your son and his wife did. That's rough. I shrugged, trying to appear nonchalant, even as the pain twisted in my gut. It is what it is, but Nicole seems to think you can help. He leaned forward, his elbows resting on the table. I can. In my line of work, I've learned that everyone has secrets, skeletons in their closet. And from what Nicole told me, I'm betting your daughter-in-law has more than a few. A tingle of anticipation ran down my spine. What are you saying? Jack smiled, slow and dangerous. I'm saying, let me dig into Laura's past. If there's dirt to be found, I'll find it. And once we have that ammunition, well, let's just say karma has a way of coming back around. I sat back, my mind reeling with the possibilities. Could this really work? Could I finally make Henry and Laura pay for what they've done? Looking into Jack's confident eyes, I made my decision. I'm in. Let's do this. He nodded, satisfied. Excellent. Give me a week. I'll be in touch. As he stood to leave, I felt a new sense of purpose and determination. They thought they could break me, but they were wrong.